The Creator never touches the ground. And you notice I'm trying not to say he or she because I don't know. So Creator never touches the ground, but well, the Creator came to us also in the form of a blue deer woman, and brought us salvation from being killed from the Spaniards. I don't know if you can look up Blue Lady on you can Google it, look it up, and it'll talk about some nun that was appearing to us over here and telling us, how to be Christian, but it's not that. It was the Blue Deer Lady that told us how to bring the medicine wheel, which is a dance that they gave to us, which we call the harvest dance. It's the dance of the 4 moons. And that's why a lot of people are making a lot of assumptions about what goes on. But the dance of the 4 moons is actually our sun dance, our harvest dance. And that dance is very, very important to us. And every time we do it, there's good things that happen for the Native nations. And like it's happening now, we're coming together. A lot of good things are happening. So if you have any questions, I'll try to. It's a lot of it has to do with gentrification. I understand, but you have to understand gentrification in the city, municipalities. You have to understand the gentrification of the Native Americans because they moved us away. They put us in Indian country. They took us to other places. So we were always kind of pushed out so they could do whatever they had to do. And a lot of it had to do with this kind of stuff here. There is another form of colonization that a lot of us natives in Texas call missionization. And so if you're missionized, you're also kind of caught up in the oppression of the native people. Is that good?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you know anything about like forced labor and violence at these missions?
Yes, I mean that's why I started it the way I started.
Oh, I missed the very beginning.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
In Post Texas and at Lake Ellen Henry, there's a pictograph that shows this mission. These 2 columns here. That shows them there, and it shows them bringing from this side. That shows the Spanish soldiers bringing Indians in, taking them in, and the priests cutting their hands off, and cutting their feet off, and cutting their hands off, and he actually shows them hanging them. That was the way of conversion. So it was forced assimilation, forced colonization. It was a very bad oppression, which still exists today because people don't want to accept the truth. Everybody wants to be saved, and the thing is that it's always selfish salvation. It's about my salvation. Screw the rest of y'all. So I'm waiting for the rapture, so that we can take care of the earth again. Sorry, guys. I'm not anti-Christian. I just had the fanaticism that goes with it. It's not good.
Can you describe maybe the variety of experience that occurred with the different bands, different tribes and nations?
Well, one of the things I was talking about was there's certain languages. There's language that will stay, like we have a word for what is called the Wolf Clan or the Wild People, and those we call the Bayayap. When you hear Bayayap, you hear the word Bayaya, because you listen with a European ear. You don't listen with an Indian ear. When you learn to listen with an Indian ear, you hear all of it. You hear Bayayap. It's got a P in it. And it sounds like you're saying Bayaya. And you hear the word Pamake, and it's also actually Pamakle, which means people of the brown skin. That's all it means, which to us would be people that came from Mexico.
Could you say that again?
Pamakle. It's not Pamake, it's Pamakle. There's a word in our language, we say Wamak, and if you say it fast enough, like we would be talking in our language, say Wamak, it sounds like you're saying Wamake, and that's how we say house. So they would always put the QUE in there, the Spanish word. So the linguists, when they did it, they put the QE in, and a lot of times that's what happens in the language. It gets distorted, and when that happened with the Spanish friars and the priests, they were seeing that happening a lot. But you're listening to a native person who was raised this way and heard these things and understands that the real history of what happened here. And I try not to get too much into with the Mission Indians because there's still Harlandale Indians here, and we're trying to change that name because that's not right to us to be called Indians, and it's not respectful to us. And this weekend, the Cleveland Indians are playing the Texas Rangers here. 2 of the worst things that can ever happen to Native Americans. And I love baseball. I almost played good professional baseball myself, but that's one reason I wouldn't play because of the racism that exists. And I'm gonna be out there, even if it's by myself, with a sign saying, "Hey, no more racism, no more mascots." And these are the things that we have to get away from to stop that gentrification of humanity. This is not just about Indians; it's about all of us, people, your families, and how everything has come to a point where everything's generic. we live in the United States of generic of people. So the more generic you are and the more you lose your culture, the less you understand. But if you understand your culture, just
How do you work on preserving your culture and preserving the language?
what we've been doing is that we're reclaiming our villages back. We're the only people that are doing that right now. And right now we've started our village in Carrizo Springs. And you're welcome to come out there anytime you want to. We're trying to set up, we don't believe in setting up camps like they did in North Dakota, because those are not permanent, those are temporary. Ours are permanent. This is our land. We lived here, and we're just coming back and saying, look, we don't want to take anything from anybody. We'll buy it, we'll lease it, we'll do whatever it takes for the land so that our people can grow again and be who they are, to bring back what is native and stop the gentrification of humanity.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch this. What was your name?
It's Juan Mancias.
Juan Mancias? Mancias? Do you have is that your, do you have like an indigenous?
That's my captive name. I don't use my native name. And my native name is Yanawis Kiapanik, which means I stand alone. And so that's usually, so you see I'm here and there's I stand alone. My people are coming around, we're getting together and getting strong. But the thing is, we have to stand up to what's going on. And I'm ready for my name to change too. I'm standing alone.
And want to describe also briefly like who the Carrizo people were and the process of like
Carrizo is what the Spaniards called us. The Comecrudos are what the Mexican people called us. Carrizo is because we lived in reed homes. They were made out. They weren't even reeds. They were huizache and retama that we made the walls out of, and they were kind of round. And then we made the thatched roofs out of cattails. And because we ate a lot of cattail, we were pretty much close to more being vegan than eating a lot of wild food. We ate a lot of deer, a lot of rabbit, and so but we also ate raw kidney, raw liver, and so that's why they called us Comecrudos. I love raw kidney, believe me. With a little lemon, it's our sushi, man. So, but I can eat it till I can make myself sick. So I don't eat that much. But one of the things that I try to let people know is that as Carrizo Comecrudo, we've always been here. We've been here from first contact with Cabeza de Vaca. He actually walked with us. I mean, there's stories about that fool. And well, if he was such a smart guy, he would have, without him not being killed, he would have gone back to Mexico, right? But he stuck around for a long time. He must have liked something. So we were able to survive a lot of that mentality that he brought in, trying to harbor the gentrification again. But he also brought a lot of that stuff that came in. I want you to know that like even before Coronado came here, there were a couple of explorers that came in, Chamuscado, Garay, and some other guys. Those guys came in for one thing, and that was just for money. So they didn't come in here. They came in for money and gold. And Chamuscado is known to have taken a lot of the mussel. We have freshwater mussels in Texas, and the pearls aren't the best in the world, but they were taking those pearls. So they were taking whatever they could for money. There's a record where it shows that they took 3,400 buffalo skins back to Mexico. So these things were occurring over and over again. And so as Comecrudo people, we tried to keep them from really going. And if you read the stories, we took them around bad places where they couldn't get through. So, because we knew all the trails, but to them it was, they didn't know. So we were pulling them around. So it took them longer to try and take over the land.
How many members of your tribe are living today?
If you go to North Texas, there's about I would say close to 6,000 of us. But around here in South Texas, we probably have a little around. It's getting about 1,200. So, but there's a lot more because a lot of you probably, if you grew up in the valley of South Texas, or your family comes from the valley, you probably have Carrizo blood. You need to check. So sorry. So now you answer.
I was making sure you're here.
How difficult is it to preserve your culture and all the?
I'll tell you, it's taken a long time. It really has, because it's really been hard on a lot of us, especially trying to let the rest of Indian America, Native America know that we're still here. We're the people. We're the original people of the peyote way. What the reason they have Native American church is because it comes from our ceremony of the half moon. That's why I keep talking about the moon. And a lot of people now even misrepresent what they call a moon dance and stuff a lot because they don't understand the teaching of what it really means. And it's not something that's wrong. It's that people are really trying to maintain their ties into who they are as Native American. It's real difficult in a world where even where you talk about natives and the first thing people see is a headdress and the Plains Indian person, you know. So we try to mimic a lot of the things that happen. As for us, it's in our language. Our ceremonies are. I have a hard word with a hard place with words like ceremonies because that's the way we live. It's not a lot. It's a life way. And also with prayer, the word prayer, we don't have a word for prayer. We don't have a word for sin. Those things don't exist in our language. You know, it's something to make you feel guilty about being who you are. It's about, there was a term that they used to use like Indio pata rajada. You guys ever heard that? You ever heard that term? Indio pata rajada? They used to cut your Achilles tendon and you would die for the rest of your life, and the other Indian people would look at you and look down on you. So they were looking down on themselves for a long time because these people refused to convert to Catholicism, and so they were treated that way. And that was one of the things that we had to overcome.
Juan, how many people would you say went through the mission system that were living here versus how many refused? And do we know?
There at one time, the thing is, you know, they always say there was, you know, there weren't that many people here. So a lot of us would move around. We were very nomadic. We have villages all the way up into New Mexico. The one they call Pecos Pueblo. If you read it up, Nancy Hickerson talks about it. The guy that lived there was one of my descendants. His name is Quiz Benive. And if they would ever asked us what that meant, we would have told them. But nobody's ever asked us. They never asked us about the history. So we were spread across all the way, and all we did was trade with each other. We traded. There's right here at Rock Springs. You know, they call it Rock Springs because there's so many rocks there. But there's a alibite formation there where they have flint for rocks. There's several places around Texas. So those places we would go to gather the flint to make arrowheads, and we were known for our bows and arrows. Actually, we would give a bow and arrows to anybody, and that's how we made relatives, because you couldn't use that bow or arrow against us, and unless we sat down and talked first. Then we could iron out our differences. So there was no really that much war that was going on without some kind of a conference to sit and talk and come to make up for your difference. But when the Europeans came, they came for one thing only, and that was the doctrine of discovery. Get rid of anybody that doesn't believe the way you believe, and that way you can take over. And that was part of the justification. And you need to look that up too, the doctrine of discovery. If you guys don't know it, it's the papal bull of 1492. Does that answer your question too? Did it? Pretty much?
Yeah.
Should we take a quick walk through?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Do you have time for that?
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.